Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, and thank you for joining us. I am Brenda Green with the Be Strong Group. My husband and I founded this nonprofit in honor of our son, Braden, who has sickle cell disease. And the mission of our nonprofit is to spread awareness of sickle cell disease through education, advocacy, and empowerment. And we decided to do these Tuesday chat, these virtual discussions, just to do our part in discussing topics that are important to those with who are impacted with sickle cell disease. And in actuality, a lot of the topics are pertinent to all of our listeners. These are real life topics, things that will allow you to learn more about sickle cell disease, about the issues that surround this illness. And I just want to let you know that everything we discuss is for educational purposes only. So anything that's specific to you, your child, or your loved one's health, please consult your primary care provider or your specialist. So thank you for joining us. And tonight we're excited because we have two special guests. And we've been talking to the American Red Cross um, throughout the past couple of years, and we appreciate them joining us and helping to provide education whenever we host anything, but also being a good partner in us hosting blood drives. So you already know our next blood drive is on Friday, June 17th, from 1 to 6 at the Red Blood at the American Red Cross office on Bull Street here in Columbia, South Carolina. So just go ahead and sign up and help us to save lives. But today we have Miss Donna Dixon. She is with the American Red Cross, and she is the manager of the Immunohematology Reference Laboratory. So if you ever wondered what happens to your donation, your bag of blood, after you leave the office, after you leave where you donated, no fear, you're going to find out today. So I am happy to bring to the stage Miss Donna Dixon. Hey, Donna, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, thank you, Donna, for joining us, and thank you for being willing to share some information to our listeners. And before we go any further, will you share anything else you would like to share about yourself?
I've actually been with the Red Cross for over 12 years, and I've always been a blood banker. I've been a blood banker for 21 years, so
Wow.
I'm very familiar with sickle cell patients. My 21-year career, I have seen a lot of sickle cell patients, sickle programs, and so the Red Cross, the last 2 years, has really ramped up our donor base, our African American donor base, so that we can provide those needs for that population. And so that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today is what happens when you donate. Okay, you want African American donors. What are you going to do with our unit once you get it? So that's what I want to talk to you about today.
All right, you guys, and Donna has a presentation, some information to share with us. But go ahead and if you have any questions along the way, go ahead and put them in the comments. As you know, if you watched last week, Facebook changed some rules on us. So I'll be monitoring the comments on Facebook. And if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and put your comments on, and we'll see them. So Donna, if you're ready, you can take it over.
I'm ready.
All right. You could just you're gonna pull up your.
Okay. Let's see. Oh. Well, now we're having technical difficulties. Let's see. Can you see my slides?
I can. Do you want me to add it?
Yeah, you might have to add it.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my presentation is I donated, now what? So this is kind of a laboratory perspective, and I'm going to talk to you about what our lab, what our role is in the sickle cell initiative that Red Cross implemented. So I'm just going to let you know what happens when you donate. So first of all, why are we so concerned with African American donors? They are the best match for sickle cell patients. Most sickle cell patients require at a minimum what we call phenotypically matched units. Well, the minimum would be CEK, and that's to reduce the risk of developing antibodies to donor units. Sickle cell patients are transfused so much that they are prone to making antibodies to donors, and the more antibodies they make, the more, the less donor base we have to draw from. So you actually, a lot of programs start out matching you with more than just your blood type, because we don't want those patients, especially when they're really young, children, we don't want them making antibodies, because like I said, it gets harder and harder to find a donor match anywhere, really, once you have started making those antibodies. And CEK phenotype is much more common in an African American population than it is in any other diverse groups. So, and like I said, some sickle cell programs, they actually what we call extended phenotype. So they'll match you for what we call a Duffy, a KID, and the MNS antigens. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. So that's why African American donors are so important, because they are the best match for a sickle cell patient. So what role do we play? This is just a little picture of one of our workstations in the lab, but what role do we play as far as the laboratory in this initiative? So every day we pull what we call a daily ethnic report, and it tells us every single African American that donated in South Carolina the previous day. So every single day we pull this report, and we go down the line and we see, okay, has this person been tested before? Have they not been tested? So anyone that hasn't been what we call pre-screened is screened that day with a reagent. And this is the picture of our reagent here, the ECAL screening reagent. And anybody that is a new donor, or they've donated before but were not tested, we're going to screen them with this reagent. And then anybody that tested ECO negative with that reagent, we actually pack the samples up and we ship them to our National Molecular Lab, which is in Philadelphia. And the molecular lab actually does a pre-screen for all the common antigens that I talked about, like CEK, the Duffys, the KIDs, by molecular methods, which is absolutely fabulous, because it's makes a little bit less work for us. And then we get a molecular report back, and it kind of looks like this. And I wish I had a better picture, because you could actually see the list of antigens at the top that are tested for every African American donor. So then once we get this report back, then we do what we call an antigen confirmation. So these are all our reagents we use. We pull segments off the units. If you've ever donated a unit and you see those long, the long tubes, that's what we make our segments off of. That's what we actually test, and what we do our confirmatory test on the segments. And then once we're done with our testing and everything's been entered in the computer, we label the units with the antigens. So you can see right here we have an OPOS, and it's CEK, and there's an extended type on it. We also screen for hemoglobin S. If any donor that is hemoglobin S positive, which is the hemoglobin S trait, you'll actually be notified by the Red Cross, if you don't already know that you carry the sickle cell trait. Red Cross will actually contact you and let you know that you tested positive for the sickle cell trait. You'll actually get a letter from the Red Cross for that. And most of the time you want, for sickle cell patients, you actually don't want to give them a hemoglobin S positive unit. You actually want to give them a hemoglobin S negative unit. So this is our nice little fridge in the laboratory. This is all of our units. We have our very own inventory separate from general inventory. So every unit in here, I would say 90% of the units in this refrigerator are CEK units, and they are set aside for the sickle cell population. There are a few other units that go to other patients, but the majority that sits in this refrigerator, this is our very own inventory for our sickle cell patients. And then once that, all the testing is done, we have them labeled, we have them in the fridge. The hospital places the orders for their sickle cell patients. These are just 2 typical orders that we get. I've blocked out the patient information, but this is like a typical what you would see come in the hospital orders. This one patient needed, I believe, CEK, Duffy-A, JKBS, and we were able to fill it. For the sickle cell exchanges, they can order anywhere from 6 to 10 units, and this was actually for an exchange, the second order to the right, and we were able to fill that order for them. And in South Carolina, Richland and MUSC actually have the biggest sickle cell programs. They transfuse a lot of sickle cell patients there. So we actually provide the majority of their units for those that patient population. And this is a couple of my lab techs during COVID when we all had to wear a mask. But if anybody has questions, I'm free to answer. But that's kind of the process that we go through once you donate. And I will say that once you've donated and we've screened you and we've found you to be a good match for a sickle cell patient, every time you come to donate, your unit will actually come into my inventory and my laboratory and not into general inventory out in distribution, which would be like the stock orders and stuff like that. Your unit will always be used for probably a sickle cell patient once they come in. It's actually sequestered.
Oh, I don't know if I knew that, Donna. I don't know if I knew that.
We always, once you're screened and you're determined to be a good match, then we code you in the computer as, we have different codes we use in the lab, but we add those codes and you're flagged. So every time you come back in, it flags us and we're able to snatch your unit, do the testing, label it, and set it aside for the patients, which is fabulous because we need a lot of units. I would say on average, we send out about 700 to 800 units a month for the sickle cell. So so it's absolutely fabulous because lately you guys have been working hard to ramp up the donations and our inventory has been great.
Good. I was about to ask you about that because I know a few months ago it was really, really scary, with the shortage.
January was really bad. I would say it was bad. And inventory was critically low, but we have really ramped up the last few months and we've been much better since then. And it's been great. I've got a full fridge, so it's been great.
Oh, well, that's good. And, even from your perspective, then you can just say, y'all keep doing what you're doing, keep donating.
Absolutely.
So the fridge can be filled. Now, you mentioned about it being screened for the S trait, for the sickle trait. And that's not the ideal. You try not to give that to a sickle cell patient. That blood is still being used, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Usually we can give it to somebody like, for instance, we transfuse a lot of multiple myeloma patients. Patients like that can get it. And we can also send it out to general inventory. We have a lot of traumas and stuff they can use. Yeah. It's not a wasted unit. Right. We just don't assign it to a sickle cell patient.
Okay. Because I have a lot of, I've been talking to a lot of fellow parents, caregivers of, children with sickle cell disease. And that's one of the things they were like, oh, I didn't know I could donate having the trait. And I was like, my husband and I do.
Yeah, you can still donate. It'll just, like I said, it'll get shoved to, sorry about the dogs. It'll just get shoved to general inventory. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're still saving lives, right?
Yes, you're still saving your life. So you're all good.
Okay, that is so great. So Donna, thank you for joining us and sharing this information.
Anytime.
I was trying to see, let me double check on Facebook to make sure we don't have any questions. And anybody that's listening, please let us know if you have any questions of Donna. She just shared a presentation of what happens to your unit of blood once it comes into her hands, in her office, her lab. And the procedure it goes through, the processes it goes through on its way to help save a life. And it's specifically those units that are dedicated to our sickle cell warriors. I know that we've spoken to, even last week, I had Visha on. Visha Jameson, she was actually on as a mother and an advocate, but then every now and again she would put on her sickle cell hat, on her Red Cross hat when we were talking about the upcoming drive. And she mentioned, about meetings, some people, and we all know a person who needs blood transfusions on a regular basis. And I know you touched on that about those who come in for well, a lot of the blood is allocated for regular people who have to regularly get blood transfusions. Did I mishear that?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, so most of our inventory is set aside for, sickle cell. That's the majority of what we do in South Carolina, sickle cell patients. So yeah, so we actually have our own inventory in our laboratory. That's ours. General inventory doesn't touch that. It's strictly for sickle cell patients. And then we have a few other patients, it's not just sickle cell patients that make antibodies. So, we still have other units in our inventory as well for them. But yeah, I would say the majority of our inventory in the lab is for our sickle cell patients.
Okay. I mean, this is all so good to hear. And I know Donna mentioned how we've been working hard to get donors, but we serve on a task force with the Red Cross, and this is the Sickle Cell Initiative is an initiative within the Red Cross, and I'm so proud to be a part of that because the Red Cross understands and know the challenge and know the need is constant, not just for sickle cell patients, but for people across the board in general who end up needing a blood transfusion, but specifically for sickle cell disease, the need for the best match blood possible, because there are complications that are associated with not getting the best close match possible. So that's important in itself. So.
And this isn't just a South Carolina thing. This is a nationwide initiative. Yeah. Every single Red Cross in the United States does this, not just South Carolina. It's just the Southeast Division, which is what we're under. Red Cross South Carolina is in the Southeast Division. We actually use the most units for our sickle cell patients out of any other Red Cross region. So, yeah.
Wow. So, Donna, is there anything else you want to? And you know what? The last time I missed some comments, and I'm not seeing any additional questions right now. But is there anything else you can think of that the listeners will probably need to know or understand?
We need your blood.
Yeah.
And if you have donated, thank you, because if you've donated, especially in the last few months, you just don't know how much. We appreciate that because we work so hard to provide, these patients with what they need. And when we don't have it, we have to go on a nationwide search. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So for all of you who have donated, thank you. And for anybody who's hesitant about donating, don't hesitate. Come to the Red Cross and we'll talk you through the whole thing. There's nothing to be afraid of. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what we keep telling them, the end result of it, the fact that you're actually, these are real lives you're saving. And I know, I've said, because my son received a life-saving blood transfusion. And so I'm speaking from the perspective of a parent of someone whose life was saved because of the selflessness of a donor coming in and donating blood. So yeah, I'm grateful as well to our donors. So hopefully you guys, to those who are listening on replay, you've learned something. And still, if you have any questions and you're listening to this later, go ahead and put your comments in the comment section. I'll make sure Donna gets it and she can answer your question and we'll get it back to you. But Donna, I thank you. I thank you for being here.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thanks
I
for
think,
having me.
yeah. So I was expecting a mom, because I think that would tie up this Tuesday chat perfectly. For her coming from a perspective of being the parent of a child who recently needed a blood transfusion. But she hasn't quite joined us yet. And I was trying to buy a little bit more time because she did say she was on her way. Let me check again, Donna, to make sure we don't have any questions. But it doesn't look that way. But while we're on, I'll go ahead and give some more details about our blood drive, which is Friday, June 17th. And if you didn't know, Juneteenth, which is the Monday, which is Sunday, June 19th, is also World Sickle Cell Day. And so we're hosting this blood drive along with several other organizations um, to show that number one, we're stronger together. And we wanted to come together as sickle cell advocates and host this blood drive because we know the need is constant. We know that these donations save lives. We know that we need more diverse blood supply. So we need more African Americans and those from the Latino community to come in and donate blood. So also in 2018, Governor McMaster did also declare it Sickle Cell Day in South Carolina. So it's a bunch of celebration going during that weekend, but we felt that we wanted to host this blood drive too because it's needed and to get your support. So it's Friday, June 17th, from 1 to 6. I think we've already shared there. Each donor will get a $20 Amazon e-gift card. And we will also have swag bags with some goodies for all of the donors as well that come out. Um, we want to see you there. And if you're asking, um, how can I sign up? You can go to redcrossblood.org and enter Be Strong in your sponsor code. So I'm trying to type that out, but you'll see the Be Strong, the sponsor code, uh, and it'll have a zip code in it, but you're going to put in Be Strong and it'll show all of the open appointments that are available for you to grab the one that fits your schedule. And, even if the day before you realize you can't come at 2, you can come at 3, that's absolutely fine. You can actually send me a message if you want to change it, but just go ahead and sign up and we will love to see you there. So that's Friday, June 17th at the Red Cross office on Bull Street. We'll be in the classroom. We're hoping to have some extra goodies for you. Some extra. Red Cross provide some snacks after you donate, and so we're hoping to have some even extra goodies for you because we really appreciate you coming out. So be there. Go ahead and sign up. If you need help signing up, just send me a message and I'll be so happy to do that for you. So, again, let me know if you have any questions, any comments. And I really, really wanted you to hear the story of this mom. Um, Danielle, whose son recently had to receive a blood transfusion, but we might have to bring her on at the next Tuesday chat because, we're just running a little bit late. And but I want you to hear it. So I want you to have another face on the why, another face on this need, to let you know that this impacts real people. And her son Tyson, uh, he's he's a little boy who just wants to, go to school, have fun, live life. And so occasionally receiving a blood transfusion is what he needs to get better. So I wanted her to share her story because I know you've heard ours. Um, where Braden was in the hospital with acute chest syndrome, which is the sickling within the lungs, and he needed a blood transfusion in order to get through that. So, and then you've heard the story of Visha that she shared, about her son Draylon, who also received not too long ago a blood transfusion, and this was during where Donna mentioned the shortage, and so that was a scary moment. And that's one of the things that, once we went through the episode with Braden, I was like, I want to be in a position to where, a mom or a dad or a spouse or, a child of a warrior won't question whether or not blood is available. So we are dedicated to making sure that we're doing our part to encourage people to become not just a one-time donor, but a regular donor. So that's our why. Braden started us in encouraging us into having this nonprofit, encouraging was our motivation behind making sure we're doing our part in promoting the importance of blood donation. But because we've met so many other people like Draylon, like Tyson, like Kendra, um, who are people living with sickle cell disease, that motivates us to continue to do our own. So I've rambled long enough. So we'll be back next Tuesday with some additional guests and additional information to share with you about sickle cell disease or topics that are important to those with sickle cell disease. Donna, I know you went on mute and camera off, but is there any closing words you would like to add?
Thanks for having me. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me. I'll be
Oh,
happy to answer them anytime.
absolutely. So, again, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to those who are listening on replay. Put your comments in the comment section, your question in the comment section, and I'll make sure we get an answer and a response to you. But in the meantime, we hope that you have a blessed week, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Good night, everybody.
All right.